Well, welcome again to the EnviroTalk program. We're here talking with a number of our speakers and sponsors that we have at our workshops around the globe. My name is Travis Bowman, and I'm the president of EnviroWorkshops. We train environmental professionals globally. We've actually hosted about 400 workshops. We've seen about 20,000, not 200, man, that could be but 20,000 environmental professionals register for our workshops on 6 continents, over 20 different countries. And so it's been amazing to see the environmental community as we go train environmental professionals around the world and just interact with them from Asia and all Europe and Australia and Africa, Middle East, and be in those different communities and see what's going on as we train environmental professionals in their community. And so you can check out our website just to know a little bit more about who our sponsors are and our speakers. Go to our website. It's EnviroWorkshops.com, and you'll get a better understanding of the training we do. But also, I thought I'd mention that we're hosting a global summit now that we've been around the world and we've been seeing and hearing what's going around around the globe. We're hosting Enviro Summit. So check out our new website, EnviroSummit.com. We'll be actually in Charlotte, North Carolina, September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And we'll have speakers from around the globe really kind of training the environmental professional on the accelerating trends, some of the technologies that they're using to mitigate some of the hot topics, like PFAS is a hot topic in our industry, and what are we doing to mitigate those different contaminants of concern. Pollution truly is, if you're not familiar with the industry, it really is a pandemic in and of itself, even though we're dealing with a pandemic called the coronavirus. Really cleaning up contaminated soil, groundwater and air, and that's what we do our training on, is truly an issue that's worldwide, as we've done around the globe with our workshops. And so so today our guest is Bill Lundy, and Bill Lundy is the president of a company called DeepEarth, and they've been using their patented technology. They have a number of patents in the industry, but using them across the US. Welcome to the program, Bill.
Thank you.
Well, so tell us a little bit about your history, and let's rewind time for our audience about where it started for you with DeepEarth. And I know your patented technology is called Coolock, so if anybody has heard of that name, that brand. But take us back. Where did it begin for you, Bill?
Well, when I came out of graduate school and went to work for Shell Chemical Company at a time when they still manufactured hydrogen peroxide. And I did some research for them, gained a few patents for the company on applications and that type of thing. And really, the environmental business just kind of happened by accident. People were trying to clean sites up and reaching for straws and all that sort of thing. And then I found out that they were trying to do Fenton chemistry, but the problem with that was that it was so dangerous. They had several explosions. If you mix the iron together with the hydrogen peroxide, that in and of itself is a pretty exothermic reaction. And I looked at that and I thought, gosh, there's got to be a way to do this, because the byproducts of hydrogen peroxide is molecular oxygen and water, and it don't get any better than that,
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we started taking a hard look at how to do this. Everybody was attempting to research slowing down the reaction, the chemical reactions, and to take the problems out of it with that regard. And it just wasn't working. People were working on the cause as opposed to the effect of developing that technology. So what I did was pretty simple. I just started working with peroxide compounds, calcium peroxide, magnesium peroxide. I even went into the sodium peroxide and some of the others, and found out that if I injected the peroxygen into the soil, blended it with groundwater and that, so you could, or with makeup water, so that you could inject it, that the coefficient of solubility with one of them, calcium peroxide, was so slow that I could actually control the production of hydrogen peroxide in situ. And so then we took a hard look at that, decided we needed some more control. So what we did is incorporated some chelating agents into the formulation, and that allowed us to leach iron off of the soil matrix. And so since we had hydrogen peroxide being made in situ and iron being dissolved in situ to use as a catalyst to produce hydroxyl radicals, we could control the reaction. And we didn't, thermodynamically, you'd predict that you're generating heat, but the contaminant concentrations in situ are so low that you couldn't measure it. So even though the thermodynamics for the purists out there, say, oh yeah, you're going to make heat, it's so little heat that you can't measure it. And that allowed us then to use these very aggressive oxidizing units, the hydroxyl radicals, to go after hydrocarbons. And then we found out that a byproduct of the reaction is a hydroxide ion. So the pH of the reaction then optimizes at about 8.5. And previous experiences that I had in doing distillation of chlorinated solvents and that type of thing told me that, hey, chlorinated solvents are going to react and form carbon dioxide and chloride ion. And so we began working with that and found out that this reaction called a nucleophilic substitution reaction that was invented by an Englishman in the 1930s would work for remediating the chlorinated solvents abiotically at the same time as we were oxidizing the hydrocarbons. So it gave a whole new vista to what we were doing. And since the reactions were abiotic and very quick, we found out that when we treat a site and drive away from it, the chlorinateds are going to be pretty much all gone, and the hydrocarbons well on a way to going. So that's basically the basis of the Coolox technology.
I love it. I love it. And obviously for some people, you might have just smoked their mind with all kinds of good chemistry, but I love it. So
well, I'm geeky. You got to forgive me.
No, I love it. I love it. So you all have deployed this technology, Coolox, all around the country. Isn't that correct? How far away have you guys gone? You guys are based in Chicago, right?
Yeah, and we've worked coast to coast. I think there's only 3 states left that we haven't been in. And so, yeah, we've had a lot of success. And lately, too, kind of due to the coronavirus, we're getting calls because of the aggressiveness and the speed at which the reactions work. When we treat a site, for instance, it's done, as I said, when we pull away. And so the advantage that we have versus the bioreaction is that the chief financial officers of the companies who really want to pay to get their site cleaned up don't have to wait forever for bio to take effect. And that's basically one of the things that's kind of pushing our program right now.
Right. Is a much faster cleanup time versus wait. Yeah. So you mentioned the coronavirus. Obviously, that is the topic of today's world. I mean, everything is just what is going on. When are we going to return back to normal? What are you all doing at DeepEarth is there anything that you all are doing in light of just standard operating procedures and your all's trucks going and your staff going in different directions?
Well, we're following the suggestions of the CDC and the president, and everyone is working from home. That's not in the field. We do have field crews working on projects that were started when the Corona scare went into effect. You know, it's been so fast. It's only a week and a half or so, and we were on projects working, and so you just can't pull away. You have to finish them.
Mm-hmm.
But the good thing about this is that sunshine and goodwill, or at least sunshine anyway, kills the virus. And so our people who are working outside in places like the Rocky Mountains and that areas are in really isolated from the real hot spots of the virus, which you know are the big cities and that type of thing. So our plan is to finish what we're doing in the field, and that should be done this week. And then we're going to get everybody tested, of course, just
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we don't have a problem with our people, because you can always go buy more equipment, but you can't buy that expertise if something happens to your people. So
True.
we're very safety conscious, not only because of the virus, but we always have been with industrial things too, you know. So
Right.
but we I think we've been lucky so far, and knock on wood, you know. But the what we expect to see is the aftermath of this thing. I'm more concerned, to be honest with you, Travis, with the aftermath and the economic recovery from
Mm-hmm.
this pandemic. I know that I listened to an interview last night on television, and it was a lady who keeps her finger on the financial conditions of the oil industry. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we've got another factor here that's driving us into bankruptcy, and that's the low price of crude oil. Crude oil
Wow.
now is $22 a barrel, and it's way lower than the industry can break even and sustain itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you've got 10 million people out of work because of the coronavirus. You've got oil prices at $20 to $22 a gallon. And so if we do do environmental projects for some of these companies that are in that financial crisis, are we going to get paid for our work? You know, so that's
Right.
something else that you have to look at too, because you got to make money to stay in business.
Right. Right.
And on Wednesday of this week, April Fool's Day, oddly enough, Whiting Petroleum, one of the largest players in the shale play industry, filed for bankruptcy. And
Really?
and what this lady pointed out was the fact that if your primary industry is filing for bankruptcy, if they don't have enough money to pay their bills, then their service industries or their vendors aren't going to get paid. And
Right.
if their vendors aren't going to get paid, you know, their vendors aren't going to get paid. So it's like a precipitous action
It's a domino
from
effect.
top to bottom, so to speak, here. And when you review that whole line of events, where does the money come from? Well, the money comes from banks. That's the pool of money that
Mm-hmm.
everybody has to go back and rely upon. Uh, and what the point that she made it was that, hey, if that pool goes dry, then we're in real trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't mean to get into financial points here, but it is one of the things being driven
Yep.
by the lack of employment and by the low prices on crude oil.
Mm-hmm.
And her bottom line was that although we've got the best experts in the world medically looking at this thing, we don't have people who are also have expertise in financial management.
Wow.
So developing the risk equation here, are we overdriving this thing in behalf of killing the virus to
Mm-hmm.
the point where you know, we're getting ourselves into a real financial bind? So that I don't want to be responsible for
Right.
this as an opinion, but
Right. Yeah.
what came through was that you know, what are we willing to risk here?
Mm.
What percent of mortality are we willing to risk to get the company back to work? So
Yeah.
that's beyond my capabilities of working those equations, but that's essentially how we're affected by the coronavirus.
Yeah, I know I think you hit the nail on the head, which of course you come from the oil industry, so you know a bit about oil prices and all of that. So that's, I know you're speaking to some degree, from experience there. So you all as a company, DeepEarth, are still, you're still operating, you're still able to meet your customers' needs at this point. Your trucks are on the road, you've got guys in the field, you're doing the proper things that you need to protect your guys, and you're able to still get out there and get some work done. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're in fact, just before we start talking today, we got another call that people want us to, hey, can you come in and knock this site out? You know, whether we happen to be in the neighborhood, and can you come over and do the work for us? We'd like to be able to do that, but as I mentioned early on in our conversations, we got to be aware also of the health of our people. And you know, we can get out there, we can do the work. We're getting more and more selective about that. As I said, also there's the red spots on the map when you look at the virus density in the various parts of the United States are such that, gosh, do we want to go there? Are we being invited to go there? Which is an important question also. Yeah. And we do have some work that we can do, but the interesting part of it is that if you work with consultants or with field people like we do, maybe the company that they're working for are not letting them go to the field either. Maybe they're sitting home, you know, and that. So I tell you, one of the things that's gotten me concerned too is you know, you listen to the news and my goodness, you hear that people being cloistered at home, all of a sudden they're getting divorced, and you know, all is not love and kisses. And I even heard that there's some murders going on, you know.
Me too.
And so you take this whole thing into account. Yeah, we can do it. Fortunately, everything's good at my place, so
good.
That's not a problem here. But it's interesting if you look at this thing from a standpoint of everything we've talked about earlier here, how much of a web it creates. It's like this big fish net that works together, you know, and so one of the worrisome aspects of this is not only surviving the virus. I'm positive, by the way, in all of the aspects that you should not be. You know, they tell you about diabetes, and they tell you about being an old guy, and you know, all of that sort of thing. I got a good heart, though. That's a good thing. But my kids are not letting me get out of the house. I mean, if you need anything, you call us and we'll bring it over. So it's good to be popular in that respect. But I'd like to thank you for putting this communications program on. I think it's wonderful that we can talk about this amongst us in the same industry and listen to the concerns that everybody has. And I had to be on the voice only this time, Travis, but I'm so good looking, I didn't want to skew your deal anyway. So.
Well, thanks so much, Bill, for coming on the program. You've been in this industry a long time, and so we all respect your opinion. So I love the fact that you took the time out and come on EnviroTalk. So appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and looking forward to seeing you at the conference. That was a really good idea.
Yes. All right. Have a great day, Bill. Thanks so much. All right.
Bye-bye.